All right, guys. So I'm going big face today because it worked. Yesterday, you guys got to see me struggle, kind of trying to figure out how to get this thing off the ground. Last night, yesterday, um, after everything was cut short, and then me spending time last night, like working on this, I ended up getting it. Let me close this so that we can just use that real estate for this. I think that's how we want to do it. Cool. I'll just move this over. All right, cool. So, this should work. Basically, what I did was set up an entire architecture for them. They were having issues getting metadata into TripleWell effectively. I ended up building out not just a base pixel purchase event and contact event, but also a begin checkout event, a add to cart event, and some other touch points along the way, especially in Cappy. So I'm sending all this stuff back to Cappy and then over to Triplewell is pretty much how this works. Now, the difficult thing with this is the client was kind of anti GTM. So I had to kind of get them on board and show them, hey, we have a solution through GTM, containerized, easier to troubleshoot, which is one of the big reasons why I even use GTM is because you can troubleshoot, you can use preview mode, and I walk through those flows. I don't think I'm going to show you on this stream that part, but essentially, now that I have this part set up, I can kind of fine tune the process so that when I come to the next client, it's going to be very easy for me to get this all set up. So this was a little bit of, I'd probably say a 3 day lift trying to get all this stuff built and figured out what variables need to get created, what tags need to get created. The fact that I can't uh, always download templates from the template gallery. Sometimes I can't actually use those templates programmatically and I have to do them by hand, which I ended up doing last night for the state templates. But if we think about it, the amount of changes I had to make in order to get this data flowing, with the deduplication, with setting up Cappy, with understanding that I had to use a data client tag, or I'm sorry, a data tag inside of client side, and then a data client inside of server side to catch those events and how that flows and what it means, instead of GA4. So originally, this was kind of gnarly. So I'm going to show this, not this one. Rate limit exceeded. I think it's going to be this one. Pretty sure. Here it is, the mermaid chart. So this mermaid chart is what opened up my eyes. Once I saw this, I knew, um let's just move it over. It's fine. So once I saw this, I knew I had something terribly wrong that I needed to fix and needed to address. And so the thing that's interesting about this is, let me see if I can get it just right. Okay, that should be good. I'll move it over just a little bit more. Like that. Uh, you guys bear with me. And then triple well pixel should be in the frame here. Okay, cool. So this is good. Um, user action at the very top funnels down to the different tags. So GA4 config tag was the main thing. We were going to catch first party data and then send that along. That's how I want to set it up. That's how it makes the most sense to set up, in my opinion. But the beauty of client work with data collection, especially, is your job is to build it the way that they need it and build it the way that they want it, um, until you gain enough trust to where you have full control and you can just build out the system the way you see fit, right? But first, you got to solve things. And so in this case, they've been having this issue with Triple Whale. Triple Whale themselves could not figure this out. That's how crazy this is for me. I'm an independent consultant that figured out how to set up Triple Whale's Pixel on the client site better than Triple Whale could. And by the way, they had already paid them $25,000 in the chat, is what it was saying. So they've been spending money. I think it's 5 grand a month, if I remember correctly. They've been spending money on this service, this tool that wasn't even configured correctly. Sound familiar? So there's a ton of people, marketers, companies, businesses, multi-million dollar businesses that are essentially paying for a solution by way of software that isn't configured correctly, but they're still paying for it. And this is how I know that software is really the game, not services, by the way, just in case you guys were wondering. So that part. But on top of that, the game here is essentially through building this mermaid diagram last night at about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I realized that I had to flow this data differently. It wasn't going to work with GA4 because GA4 is on the client side. This assumes that GA4 is going to flow into the GA4 client on server side, and that's just not the case. The client specifically suggested that we just keep it client side. That was, I don't know where they heard that or who told them that that was the play, but I had to roll with it. And so through a little bit of fancy footwork and asking, I don't know which one of these it is, but essentially, here we go. Client is using GA4 server side. So basically all this turned into that. And obviously there was much more, but yeah. And then you have your all your charting, everything, and it shows how I gotta configure everything with the hashing, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is something I never had when I was building these systems out in the previous years. It's been the same thing, but this one's so much tighter because I can test and think through theoretically things before I hit that preview button. That preview button gets hit still, and it got hit today, and I probably debugged this morning for about an hour or two, just kind of making sure it worked the way that it was supposed to, and tweaking it and adding parameters, etc. It's all cool though. It's all interesting, man. And it really just comes down to, are you willing to learn how to build with AI so that you can get something that you hadn't had before? I used to never have a visual or representation of what I was doing. I would just say, hey, client, trust me, you need server side tagging, you need first party data, you need to reconfigure everything. And they would trust me, I would do it, and then they would get results. And then they would say, all right, thanks, bye. Thanks, bye, because they have the system. I just configured it for them. Even if I'm not there whenever it breaks or something happens or they have other questions or they probably should build on top of it, they still don't care. And a lot of times they just wanted to get what they wanted to get fixed. Just good enough. Because a lot of times what happens with data collection, and the reason that people don't go super deep on it is because they're looking at it the way that you look at hiring a Hummer, hiring a plumber. Plumber comes and fixes things when they break. Roofer, same thing. Roofer comes and fixes things when they break. They don't want to just have it on retainer. And really, I'm a lawyer. Really, I'm more like a lawyer. You need to have me on retainer just in case, because it's happening. It's going to happen eventually. We just don't know when. And so these systems are super complex. You're trying to get data to flow. People are changing up the product. They're changing up the website. They're changing up the product offerings, the amount of offerings, the flow of the website, et cetera, et cetera. iOS is changing their stance on what they block, as well as Safari, as well as Meta, and that's just three. And then Google Ads is doing all kinds of wild stuff around consent mode. I'm sure, what happens when this client says, "Hey, yeah, we want to be able to reach people on TikTok. We want to be able to reach people on Hulu or Amazon or whatever other ad platform they want to end up using." Hulu's pretty random, but it would make sense for this. I would want to reach people who are enjoying a TV show and hit them with a little localized commercial with a QR code so they can book a flight. It's really dope, man. I'm really thankful that I have this unique skill set and I get to use this unique skill set within that skill set. So, AI coding, cloud code, building, fixture tracking, building programmatically for better data collection so that you can better serve your customers, so that you can better understand what they're doing when they get to your site, so you can better understand what they're doing from an ad perspective and how to reach the right people. Pretty cool stuff, man. Anyways, that's all. I'm gonna just go call it good on that today. I think that I'm washed out on the white, but basically, if you care to see it, this is what it looks like. I got this thing called Data Layer Push, and it lets me know I can trigger events in the data client based on flight added, and that looks something like this. Add to cart. Flight added turns into add to cart. Kind of pretty much gets transformed. Then I can still see travel type, currency, etc., etc. Same thing. It might be the same one, 738. I'm not sure. That's one way to figure it out. This one's 507. So 738 is going to be up here somewhere. 787, different one. Anyways, try to show you and then couldn't show you. But it's all good. Flight added basically is showing here and we do duplicate it. So it's not going to get counted more than once. Let me see if I can find it up here. I'm kind of curious now how it would work. I think the greater point here is all these things. All these things can be counted. I don't know why that's doing that. But anyways, all these things can be counted. All these things can tell me something. I can generate a lead. I can get a purchase event. I got some tweaking to do around that, but this wasn't even coming in at all. It was completely broken. And now they at least understand when someone's showing intent. So you start at the beginning of the flow. I can do this, start the flow, and that means they're interested in customizing the product. And from there, I know at least that they're customizing the product. I can pull in the email address or phone number if they're signing in. But if they're new, then they'll be a new person. Flight added means that they actually picked something and sent it over. And then I can send that to Triple Well as well, along with name, email, if I have it. It's pretty cool stuff, man. It's powerful. And this is how it starts and then gets deeper, much deeper. But at least I've got it set up. I'm really proud about it because it was a hell of a battle. This is like something that I could have set up on my own probably in an hour or two. Not with confidence, but maybe like 5 hours with confidence. I've only set one other system up um, to this extent where I needed to pass like very specific funnel data. And now moving forward, the beauty of it is I can do it programmatically. I use Claude Code to pick the tags, triggers, variables I needed in order to capture the data the way I needed to solve a very specific problem around Triple L and meta ads data. That's crazy powerful. Otherwise, it would have been me thinking through the entire strategy from scratch without any kind of visual assistance, without any kind of like, hey, how do I juggle all this in my head? What all are we doing? How does LinkedIn fit into this? How does GA4 fit into this? Well, you got it now, though. All right, that's it. Peace.